With today's video, we start a new series on what I consider to be the most popular destinations across the United States. Today we're at Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls! Slowly I turn. Please, no. And step by step. Inch by inch. No, please, no. I step to my and I knock.
Yes, Niagara Falls. Welcome to Parks and Places Online. I'm Tom. When you decide to go to Niagara Falls, the first decision that you need to make is whether or not you're going to the US side, the Canadian side, or both sides. We've been to both the US side and the Canadian side, so we'll cover both in this video to give you the information you need to plan your trip. If you're crossing the border, realize that you will need a passport. A US passport costs $110 a person and it lasts for 10 years. If you want to do any traveling, I suggest you just get a passport. Now, if you're in the United States or Canada on a work visa, you may not be able to leave the country and come back, so obviously plan for your situation. A note about GPS directions to Niagara Falls. Say you're coming from Chicago and you punch in your GPS Niagara Falls. That route might take you through Canada because that is 35 miles shorter than going through Cleveland and around Lake Erie. If you aren't prepared to cross into Canada, then just following your GPS might be taking you way out of your way. Niagara Falls is a waterfall on the Niagara River. The Niagara River is a short river, only 36 miles long. It connects Lake Erie with Lake Ontario. Do you remember the mnemonic device to help you remember what the 5 Great Lakes are? HOMES. H-O-M-E-S. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. Goat Island splits the Niagara River into two. To the north of the island is the American Falls, and to the south of the island is the Canadian Falls. Now, if that sounds flipped, understand that the river wiggles around, and by the falls, the United States is north of Canada. We'll first cover things to see and do on the American side. We parked at a parking lot on Goat Island. I think it's $10 to park for the whole day. From there you can walk around. There is a lot of walking on the American side to see all the sights. If you can't do that much walking, there is a tram that you can take. I think it's $3 a person that will take you to most of the destinations. But I do recommend walking if you're able. The Cave of the Winds tour will get you closer to being in the waterfall than any other tour in Niagara Falls. You will experience torrents of water. And unless you are Stephanie Abrams working for the Weather Channel during a hurricane, you'll probably never experience anywhere else.
Wind gets squeezed in between two buildings. It has to move faster, and it does so. I've got my crew holding me down.
The tour gets you suited up in a raincoat, and then you ride an elevator down to a set of boardwalks that culminate at Hurricane Deck. That gets you to Bridal Veil Falls. Bridal Veil Falls is the rightmost section of the American Falls. We took this tour back in 1988, but I don't think it has changed that much since then. You certainly experienced the roar of the water. Then I heard something like the voice of a great multitude, and like the sound of many waters, and like the sound of mighty pearls of thunder, saying, "Hallelujah! For the Lord our God, the Almighty, reigns." The Maid of the Mist tour is probably the most famous and popular of all the tours at Niagara Falls. This is, of course, where you take the boat ride past the American Falls to the base of the Canadian Falls. In my opinion, this is the best paid activity to do. And there are plenty of things to do. When you get off the boat, you have the opportunity to take a set of stairs up to the Crow's Nest. This is similar to the Hurricane Deck on the Cave of the Winds tour, just in case you didn't get wet enough on the boat. You access the Maid of the Mist tour from the Niagara Falls Observation Tower. This is a structure that kind of looks like a half-built bridge that extends out into the gorge. Realize that from the American side, you're only looking at the side of the waterfall, or looking over the edge. So when you're out on the observation deck extended into the gorge, you're looking a little bit back towards the falls, giving you a better view than what you would get from the land on the American side. When you pay for the Maid of the Mist tour, you actually get 4 things for the price of 1. Yes, you get the boat ride, but you also get the view from the tower, you get the elevator ride down to the bottom of the gorge, and you get access to the Crow's Nest to get a good soaking. Those are the 2 paid activities that we did on the American side, but we really just enjoyed walking around. The walk around Goat Island gives you views at the top of the falls of both the Canadian and the American falls. It gives you also opportunities to look right over the edge, looking down over the brink. The walk along the rapids above the falls is also nice. Be sure to bring comfortable shoes because you'll be doing a lot of walking. Still on the American side is the drive north. There are viewpoints along the drive overlooking down into the gorge, including the infamous Whirlpool on the Niagara. Now for the Canadian side. As I mentioned earlier, from the American side, you're only seeing the falls from the side. To get that view where you're looking dead on at the falls, that postcard picture of the waterfalls, you need to be on the Canadian side. The first time that we went to Niagara Falls was back in 1988. At that time, the American side was actually kind of junky. When we went back in 2014, things were really spruced up. Nice paved walkways, nice landscaping, really clean. In general, much improved from what it was in 1988. Both times that we went to Niagara Falls, the Canadian side was immaculate. The Canadian side has beautiful flowers and manicured green spaces. The walk along the river on the Canadian side is more like walking in the pristine grounds of an expensive hotel. The walk along the river on the Canadian side will give you plenty of those postcard pictures of both the American Falls and the Canadian Falls. The nighttime view of the falls lit up is also a must-see from the Canadian side. The only paid activity that we did on the Canadian side was to take the ride up to the top of Skylon Tower. You might be asking yourself, just how many pictures can you take of the same waterfall? Well, the answer is just a few more. The elevated view from the top of the tower really gives you a different perspective, and well recommended. There you have it. Those are the things that we saw and did at Niagara Falls at both the American side and the Canadian side. There are many, many more things to do at Niagara Falls than we covered here, but as always, we like to talk about the things that we did. We hope this gives you a bit more information to plan your trip and make the decision of whether or not you should visit the American side, the Canadian side, or both, which is what we recommend. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.